Hi everyone, it's nice to meet you all. I've pretty much got time to actually find out your names, okay? So I'm really sorry, it's the only interactive bit I'll make you do, alright? So we'll start, can we start with you at the back with the awesome hair? What's your name?
Frederick.
Frederick, and then?
Tracy.
Rory.
Jill.
Christine.
Grace. Andy. Phil.
Victoria.
Crazy.
Lorenzo. Jean.
Amanda.
Okay, right, hi everyone. I wish I would have time to actually buy you guys a coffee and sit down with all of you and ask you what you want from life. Because I don't do that a lot, but what I do is I've spoken to about 250,000 year 9 to year 13s or 14 to 19-year-olds in the last 8 years. I've done about over 2,000 different talks and workshops as well as my other job, which I'll explain what that is in a minute, but this is essentially what we're here to talk about today. So I'm going to kind of use this as a little mini stage. So we don't really need to know any of this, let's get rid of that. That will be explained in a minute, this thing here, okay? But I should probably explain myself, so it's nice to meet you all. My name is Moj, which is a weird name. I'm pretty sure we've got a nurse in here. I think my mum just sneezed in labour and they just wrote it down on the birth certificate. I think she just went like that. And my surname's Taylor, so I'm half sorted. I've got a good, strong surname. But my name, Moj Taylor, it's a bit of a weird one. It kind of sums up my background. I'm half Chinese, and my mum is from Hong Kong, and my dad is from England. My dad is like, he looks like the dad from Billy Elliot. He's like bald, angry, northerner. I grew up in Manchester. And my dad, I tell you what, my career's advice at home was like a war zone. Because I'm not like my parents. I've actually gained a lot of what I call transferable skills. I'm good on my feet. I've got the gift of the gab, which I got from my dad, because he is a carpenter. He does bespoke kitchens. He's got his own business, which he's had for 30 years, which he set up just after college, and he's a salesman. And so I've got that from my dad. But from my mum, I've got this kind of, just this work ethic I think I've got, which is a stereotype, but oh my god, some stereotypes, you really do see them in the house, okay? My mum, it's the Chinese thing, she just never sleeps. I think she's a robot. I think she's just got batteries and she just, when I'm not looking, she just changes them. She's amazing. But I love my parents, but I'm not the same as them. I'm not the same as them in any way. My mum worked in a bank her whole life. My dad is a carpenter, so he's got his own business. First person in my family to go to university. I came from a school where it was very just, it was very just, you go, we want to put you into higher education. More probably for the school's reputation, more so that they could say, look how many people we get into university. Not actually considering whether it's right for the person. And one thing we do at Push a lot, and Push is a non-profit organisation which is designed just to give impartial, informed advice based on research. The chief executive is a higher education career specialist. He works a lot on government advisory boards to do with employability in young people's choices, which he's done research into. And we always say the best form of guidance is self-led guidance. It's much more empowering when you feel like you've come to a decision yourself, looking at the young people here, about what you want to do with your life. I'll tell you a little story to start off. So when I was told when I was, by my dad, I was told when I was 10 years old, he went, do you remember what happened to you in first year in school? You know, when you're like first year, isn't it? It's like when you're about 5 years old, you go into the education system. And he told me this when I was 10. And he said, do you remember what they said to you? And I went, no. He said, apparently you were too stupid to get into school. I won't name my school, but this was in maybe 1990. And they said, you're too stupid. And apparently, my dad said, I had to beg the headmistress to let you in, the primary school headmistress, to let you in. And then you had to have extra, I had to read to you extra every night, and they tested you again in about January time to check you were up to speed. And that always stuck with me. And then, I always wanted to kind of prove that I could do anything I kind of wanted to do. And I was very different to my parents, like I said. When I got to the age that you guys might be at now, this kind of scary BTEC or A-level stage where you go in, oh God, and you start getting the tricklings of what are you going to do when you're 18. Not going to force you to move out, that was what my mum said. She was like, I'm not going to force you, but have you even thought about what you want to actually do? And I remember my dad was scooping out some food from the cooker. He had the cooker door open. And my dad's this kind of scary, angry guy. I would never swear at him in my life. I would never stand up to him until this moment. And the only thing I enjoyed in school was the thing which didn't feel like work. And I would say that is my first tip to you. Follow your instincts. If something doesn't feel like you're studying or learning, you just want to get better at it. No one tells you you need to get better at it. You're the most annoyed when you don't do as good as you think you can do. So for some of you, it might be geography or a language. It might be, what are you thinking of studying? Or what are you doing now? History. What are the subjects you doing?
Classics and politics.
Which is the, consider the beast from the east, which is the one you would have got up for if they said that you had to make it to school? Not your mum forcing you out the door. If they said you have to motivate yourself to go, which one would you have gone for? Through rain, wind or shine?
History, probably.
History. Yeah, and I can see you smiling when you do it. My first tip would be choose something to study at 18, no matter what capacity it's in, whether it's an apprenticeship, a degree apprenticeship you can do now, whether you learn on the job, like army, police, fire service, navy, they're basically apprenticeships because you get a wage from day one and you get your training from day one on the job, you get your qualifications on it. But whatever it is, choose something that doesn't feel like work. Doesn't mean you don't work hard, but it's really, really crucial. I'll tell you what I do for work. I work for Push. I've done a lot of these talks, thousands of them over the last 8 years. These are my other 2 jobs, so I'll get rid of those. These are my other 2 jobs. So that's me at the Edinburgh Festival. I'm a stand-up comedian and an actor. So I do this, and when I'm not doing this, I'm usually at the bottom of the English Channel in a dry suit, and I help teach scuba diving. And that's what I do. That's what I love. My dad and granddad used to do that, because they're both joiners and carpenters. They don't even understand this thing, higher education. They said, what is that? They'd heard university, and they just went, programmed in, BBC Breakfast, turn it on. They went, debt, student debt, this is just too much money, don't go. Don't go, and it's for your lifetime. It's not for your lifetime, it lasts for 30 years, by the way, and it's like a tax. It's just a bit that comes off your salary based on what you're earning. But they don't say that on the news. So I kind of did my research into this stuff, because I'm on this repayment system, and my parents didn't, and they got this real thing from them of don't go, do not do it. My dad, when I said I wanted to do drama, because drama is a very transferable skill, doctors in the room, you might know, GPs, get trained by actors, role plays to help with their people skills. First stage of the Metropolitan Police, role plays with actors to see how you deal in difficult situations. So acting is a very transferable degree. Acting, maths, languages, very, very good. So don't be put off by the idea of a higher level of education. If you're not actually sure what you want to do as a job yet, don't let that stop you. Yes, there's going to be the job, there's going to be the degrees which sound like the career you're going to go into. Engineering, you're going to be an engineer. Architecture, veterinary science, medicine. They lead to that specific thing, but it doesn't mean don't consider not doing something at university level, because you don't just have to go to university to do higher education. You can go to a college, you can go here, you can do online degrees, part-time degrees, you can do all sorts, foundation degrees. But don't be put off if you're thinking of doing something like history or a language or politics. It's about how you make those skills transferable to whatever job you'll go into. And you know that they did a study recently, 1 in every 2 jobs that people will be doing in this country in 10 years' time, in the year 2028, don't even exist yet. You're going to have the classic ones, nurses, the world's going to need nurses just as much as it needs roofers, construction, plumbers, architects, joiners like my dad, but it's going to need people who have also done things like history, philosophy, and gained all these transferable skills at university, to then go on and do these jobs that don't have a role yet, because they have to be able to have the skills to adapt to any kind of role. So, that's what I did, Edinburgh Festival and diving. That's pretty much me. I wanted you guys to just know who you're listening to first. But when I told my dad I wanted to do drama at university, he was, back to my story, he was scooping something out of the oven, and I said, I want to do drama, Dad, and it was like in Billy Elliot when he said, Dad, want to do ballet? And you know he goes, ballet! No, Billy! He's like, you work in the mines, like I did, like your granddad did, like your great-granddad, you work in the mines, and that's it. That's all we can do because of our class structure. And that kind of thing. And I hate class structure and all these things. It's a lot more fluid than it has ever been. I know it's difficult thinking about making a choice in life, but consider living 60 years ago. Things were a lot more rigid. A lot of people who go to university now didn't go to university. And it's not that you have to go to university to be a better person, nothing like that. But in terms of your ability to weave and choose to do whatever you want to do in terms of all the different job roles out there, a lot more flexible now than it's ever been. So always consider that. I know it's overwhelming making a choice, but when I said to my dad I want to do drama, he threw a potato at me. A jacket potato. Because he was scooping it out of the oven and he went, no! Like he forgot he was holding. scooper thing. And he was getting a jacket, and he went, no, like that, and it hit me in the face. I had a massive argument with him. I swore at him, he didn't like that. He chased me around the house. I was brave enough to just say, Dad, it's the only thing that doesn't feel like work. I've got my little Chinese mum running around, she's about that big, just like Dobby from Harry Potter. That's me being nice to her. I've called her a lot worse, don't worry. And she's called me a lot worse as well. It means we love each other. We're British, we're not nice to each other, we're sarcastic. It's a true sign we love each other. And my mum was running around, she said, I want you to do medicine. Because unfortunately stereotypes do exist, and my mum was going, I think you should do medicine, because she's Chinese. Apparently if you're Chinese there's only 3 options. You either become a scientist, you become a doctor, or you own a takeaway. There's nothing in between. Nothing! You can't be a photographer, a graphic designer, a dancer, a DJ. The world's going to need those. The world's going to need the entertainment industry and athletes just as much as it needs the vocational, engineering and doctor skills. It's going to need you to be whatever you want to be. Because there was an employability study done recently, and a lot of employability studies show you will be better at your job. This is as simple as it gets. You'll be better at your job if you enjoy it. If you genuinely enjoy your job, you turn up on the cold days, it doesn't feel like work, you self-learn, you independent learn, you want to get better at it, and you put in that extra effort, you put in the initiative, the problem solving, all these desirable skills, you're basically better at your job, which means that you get kept on your job and you stand out when there's promotions and pay rises. Or if you leave, you stand out as well. So, employability is just basically how happy you can make yourself in a job. And that's the thing I would say to you guys. You're trying to work out not necessarily what job you're going to do, because it's going to change so much over the next 10 years due to technology and the role technology plays in careers. But focus on finding out the collection of feelings that you want to wake up and do every day, that you want to experience every day. So, my dad threw the jacket potato at me when I said I wanted to go to university. He didn't talk to me for 6 months. So I was the first person to go in my family. My mum spoke to me and kept crying down the phone going, have you dropped out of drama and Spanish, and have you chosen medicine yet? I went, Mum, it's not that simple. Okay, this is when I was at the university. I went to Queen Mary University in London. I'm from Manchester. My whole year, no one else went to London. They went, oh, people, terrorism, why are you going there? And I went, well, creative industries as well, acting, comedy, things I can get involved in while I'm there. So that's why I went to London, and it terrified me. Won't lie to you, moving away from home, I was terrified, I was homesick, I really got overwhelmed with my course, but it's not a reason not to go into things because you're scared. It's like the diving. I like doing things that scare me. This scares me, comedy scares me. That's one of the, weirdly, the feelings I said, the feeling I love doing every day is I like waking up and seeing different faces and hopefully getting people thinking. This phrase is great, I really love this phrase. Show me green to the front if, on your voting cards I've put for you, so I can gauge some opinion. Show me green if you think that you would rather do if that bit sounds more appealing. Show me green if you think that first bit sounds more appealing than the second part of the phrase. Okay, I'm going to ask one of the young people, that's really insulting, isn't it, from parents? I'm going to ask one of the young people, and then also one of the not so young people, but still very young, still nice and youthful. I'm going to ask one of the parents what they think it means, because so much, you've seen the conflict I got in my house. The best thing you guys can do when you're in your house is establish dialogue. Get talking about this stuff. Get talking about the things, parents, that worry you for your kids. And also, kids, get talking about the things that worry you. And also things that maybe there's a miscommunication between the two of you about things like higher education or choices. Because I got the potato, smacked me right in the face, a hot jacket potato. My dad chased me around the house, it was horrible. I'm going to ask you, hi, green t-shirt, man. What do you think make a life means?
Make an existence that satisfies you.
Yeah, satisfies a feeling, that's good. Make an existence that satisfies you. I quite like that. Make an existence. An existence, yeah. Your life, it's pretty important. You know that you only get, do you know how many hours the average UK human being will live to? This is scary. 750,000 hours. That's from the day you're born. 84.5 years old. Do it on a calculator. Average age at the moment for a male or female, if you take the average age, do it on a calculator. 750,000 years, not long. You've already used up, by the time you're 20, about a quarter of those. You're asleep for a third of them. So really, this idea, make a life for yourself. Don't just do this. Let's ask a parent. I'll ask you in the orange, sorry. I won't ask you another question like this. What do you think a life means? We've heard from one of the young minds. What do you think?
We were just saying about getting the balance right between work and social and family.
Yeah, getting a balance right.
Enjoy it, you're not working to live, you're working to work.
No worries. See you in a bit. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Can you repeat that last bit about working to live, living to work?
Yeah, just get the balance right so you're not working to live, working to work.
Yeah, it's great. This one is just doing the same thing every day. Let me show you life summed up in 2 pictures. And I've seen people do both approaches to their life at 18. There's this one, firstly, then there's this one. This one, imagine that's crammed. I live in London, I've lived there 14 years. I've learned more skills for a job just by living in London, I think, in terms of resilience and being able to think quick and being able to adapt to situations. That I do not like using. I've had to use that so many times. Imagine it rammed. You're in someone's armpit like this, rush hour. Rush hour's nicer when you're stuck in a car, trust me. I have the radio on, there's a bit of space. Rush hour on this is horrible. And I've had to use that thousands of times. I don't enjoy it. I look at everyone, everyone's like this. Headphones on, podcast, Spotify, music, reading a book. No one wants to look at each other. It's basically, you're desensitizing yourself. You're basically detaching from life. You're going, oh my God, get me somewhere better. Why do people use it though? Because it's the quickest way to get from A to B. So they bear with the journey they don't like for 20 minutes so they can get off at the other side. That is doing that. That's bearing with a job that you hate for 40 hours a week, and all the adults here will tell me it's never 40 hours a week in a job, the average amount of time. 8 hours a day? No. But that is doing that. Why do a job where you detach from it and you desensitize yourself? Because the end destination is the tube stop, is money. Loads of money. That you won't get to spend because you won't spend your time in that career for 50 years. Where you get to go up and fulfill maybe, you know, promotions, pay rises, move up and up and up. You won't do it. I saw someone do that. He chose something, he chose a career like a tube ride. He just went, just about the money. Get to the end destination as quick as possible. He quit it after 2 years. And then at 20, he went to university. Because he went to do something he was actually passionate about. So that's one way. This is another way. A road movie. Already looks more exciting. If I said to all of you, you've got £10,000 each I'm going to give you, and I want you to take a different route across America, I want you to book a ticket tonight, plan a route, you're going to fly into New York, book your own tickets, and plan 4 different routes, all ending up on the same day in San Francisco. And I want you to do a video every day, and put it on YouTube about whatever you're up to that day and your experiences. I guarantee you, you're already smiling. You're thinking, that sounds more appealing than a tube ride. The point is, it's like any good holiday, isn't it? Most of the fun is in the anticipation. It's the build-up. If you think of your life's choices like this, guys, right now, you're here. You're not even on the road yet. You're at the bit where you're plotting what you want to do. And if the plotting doesn't feel exciting, don't consider that thing. The excitement should be just as much researching that thing. By research, I mean go to open days. Go and talk to people. That's what you do. Talk to people in the industry. Don't ask them what they enjoy about their job. Ask them what the most difficult thing is and the reason they still do their job every morning. So right now, you're in the plotting stage, and it should be exciting like a road movie, where you're not quite sure with a road movie what the destination is, but you know it's just as much about every single step along the way. You're going to find, actually the worst part is ending up in San Francisco, because you're like, I don't want to go home. So the worst part is thinking, I'm going to retire one day from this. My dad says he thinks he'll die early if he retires. Because he works about 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, because he loves what he does. He's basically just done his hobby for his whole life. He says, I think I will wind down mentally and physically, because he said, I'm always in the workshop covered in sawdust, I keep fit. My other friends, one went to university, first in his family, and now he's in the Royal Navy, spends 9 months at sea. And he's very different to what I do. He says, what you do scares me. I say, what you do scares me. I know a guy who's a Royal Marine. I know a guy who's a plumber. The people I know are happiest in their jobs. It does not matter what job it is. It's the people who think, actually, I make this job more than a job. It's a part of my life. That's a really nice quote by a famous Asian philosopher called Confucius from about 2,500 years ago. I really like that. I think it's great. And I do genuinely think it's possible. The Royal Navy guy I know, the Marine, the engineer, the plumber, the carpenter, all the people I know who enjoyed their university experience and really maximised it, they say, yeah, it didn't feel like studying at university, lectures, seminars, all these things. It just felt like getting good at something and then chomping at the bit to want to be employed in it. So firstly, ask yourself this, what do you want from life? What do you guys want from life? I don't know what you want from life. Has anyone ever thought about this? Let me give you a tip. You never start with the name of a career. You start with the feelings, the collection of feelings you want from a career. And then you see on your road movie if higher education fits in, or if an apprenticeship fits in. It should be that you come to that decision. You're the doctors here, no one has ever got, people use this phrase a lot, ever since I was young I've wanted to be. No, you haven't. You've not wanted to be an engineer, or in the army, or a dancer, or a coder, or a YouTuber. You've not wanted to do that since you were a fetus, researching things in the belly, and then popping out from your mum's legs and just going, do you know what? I know what career I want to do. Never ever start with the name of a career. It's dangerous, because you don't know where careers are going to go in the future. You start with the feelings you want, and 250,000 students, here's the most popular things students have told me. And that's why I really liked your answer before. Most popular things students have said to me. Some are not feelings, some are material things. Trust me, don't focus on the material things, they change over life, about the things you want. Focus on the collection of feeling. If the doctor's here, if the gardener had to narrow down the jobs that they do, in terms of a collection of feelings, that tells you why they get up and do it. So really look at these. Some of them are really weird, some of them are funny. Essentially, it all comes down to that. It's about happiness. It's about personal happiness. Here's a nice quote from Oscar Wilde. I really like that quote. Doctors, you know about DNA and fingerprints. This should be your blueprint for life. You should all have a unique version, a collection of the feelings you want. Write that down. Make sure the parents, you know what those things are. You go, this is what you're looking for from life, right, son? Now I know that. I can help you make informed decisions on what you want from life, because I know what you're about. This is the most popular, in terms of higher education, this is the most popular things that studies show and students say to me. Studies show, in terms of if you're thinking about higher education, and I was the first person to do it in my family. I didn't really do it for these reasons, I just did it because of this. Because I thought it's going to be fun, and I knew I was going to gain some amazing skills, just by being on a degree. These two, it's true. On average, you find a job twice as quickly if you're ever unemployed, and you're twice as likely to ever be employed if you have a degree. It does not matter what degree it is. And on average, over the course of your life, studies show you earn about £250,000 more over the course of your life by just having a degree, as opposed to not. So why are you worried about £50,000 of debt if on average you are going to earn on average 5 times more than that? You will only pay back all the student debt if you can afford to. It's a tax. It's 10% sliced off the top of anything you're earning over £25,000. It's not much, but all. Basically, if you pay it back, it means you can afford to pay it back, like people who pay a lot of tax. So that's how it works. But it's for those reasons. I think actually, really, it's like a stool. Higher education, think of it like this. It's getting yourself to a higher level to what you're at now. You decide if you like the view up here. It's up to you whether you want to get there. You don't have to. Some careers will tell you you absolutely need to get to this level. Nurses, doctors, engineers maybe, they'll say you absolutely have to get to this level. But other things won't. But you might do it because you just want to do it. Think of it like this. You've got 3 stable bases that raise you up. You've firstly got that. Know what you want from life, the feelings you want. The second one is this, what you can do. Or what you can get really good at doing, your skills. Not just your knowledge, people need you to be able to do practical skills. You learn a lot of those inside a degree and outside a degree. And the third one is that. Know the course, know where it leads. You can look at any higher education course and you can look at the graduate employment rates of people who did that course after 6 months. They keep these figures. And you can see where they end up. There's so many different types of degrees. You don't just have to go to a university to do a degree. You can go to a further education, a higher education college. Those are the most popular degrees in the UK. By student numbers. Doesn't mean that no one's employable because they do this. It might mean they're really competitive and you're much more likely to get employment straight off. Sometimes courses can be oversubscribed, where there's too many people with a certain type of degree. So do look at where a degree can lead to as well as knowing you'll just have fun on it. Now what I want to do is just kind of finish this. Has anyone got any questions? Because I'm going to put up the most popular questions. Where are we? Those are the most popular questions I get asked by parents and by students. Has anyone got any of those that they want to ask me, or anything else they want to ask me about university choices? Like if you were thinking of higher education. Anyone got anything they want to ask me? Who here is worried about the repayments and the loans? Is anyone here worried about that stuff? Show me green if you would actually be a first-time university goer, whether that's the parents for your son or daughter. Show me green to the front. Would you be first time in your family? What about you? Green? Yeah. Keep green up if I say it right, if you're worried about student money. Are you worried about finances? Yeah?
I thought you paid as you went.
Yeah.
Do you not?
You do. You pay as you go.
So then why do you have to pay it back when you're older? I just got confused.
So, what happens is, it's not like bouncers at a door where they go, oi, have you got that £9,000 please? Otherwise you're not coming into this university. The government actually pays your fees up front. The government pays your fees. You go, no worries. The government pays for it, and you just essentially pay back what you can afford after the 30 years of graduating. Not when you get a job. If you're not employed much, hopefully you are, for the 30-year window after you graduate, then you won't pay much back, like a tax. If you're earning under a certain amount of tax, parents will tell me you don't actually pay any tax. If you're earning a lot of money, you pay a lot more tax back. So what it is you basically pay 10% of anything over £25,000, whenever you are earning that, over that 30 years. Does that make sense?
So if you're earning £25,000, you've got to pay
Nothing.
10%.
It's 10% of anything above 25. Let's say you're earning £30,000.
So surely that's unfair. If you're earning £30,000, it's only 10% of that, but then if you're earning 70 grand, you're going to have to be paying.
It's not 10% of your 30 though, remember? It's 10% of anything above 25,000. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's not much, is it? That's one of the myths. Most common myths is people think it's off 10% of your whole salary. It's gone up just now from 21,000 to 25,000. It doesn't affect a mortgage, doesn't affect a credit rating, a student loan. It's a debt that works very different to a traditional debt. They basically press delete after 30 years, no matter what you've paid off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the maintenance loan is the one you get straight away. That's there to maintain you at university. That's there for you to spend on books, on student accommodation, on going out, on travel. That's there for you to spend. You get that into your account 3 months in the year automatically. And that is different depending on where you live. If you live in London, you get a higher loan because obviously it's more, the average cost of living is more. Also, always think about the money you can get for free. I would leave you with one final tip, guys. Scholarships, bursaries. Not every college and university advertises this, but always ask if there's any free money you can get. There is bursaries and scholarships, especially if you're first generation university. But for other factors, they look at different factors in your life. You basically have to fill out a little form. It might be because you've got specific talent as well. So whatever that is, always look wider. See how much free money you can get. Does that make sense? See how much free money, they're called bursaries, scholarships, hardship funds. So you maximise the money in and you minimise the money out. And choose the university that's best for you. There's over 100,000 courses in the UK. And there's about 160 universities and about 250 more colleges like this where you can study a higher education level. But if you're worried about any of this, guys, you can ask me questions afterwards. Also, I'm going to be out there for an hour by the front of the... Where are we?
The Tower Foyer.
Tower Foyer. Come and ask me questions. I'll be right there. Ask me anything you want about student finance and how it works. Because people worry about the interest and things like that. Parents, come and ask me questions as well. If hopefully there was no questions, but those have given you some ideas of things you worry about, come and ask me some of those questions at the front. And I will put my laptop up at the front with that slide up, so it can remind you of some of those questions if you want. Okay? Come and find me in about an hour's time, or half an hour's time.
Okay.
And I will answer your questions. But don't ever worry about the money, is that right? Don't worry about the money.
Exactly.
It's based on your earning power, not how much you borrow. For 30 years. If you pay it all back, you can afford to. So, that's it, guys. Good luck with everything. And it was a speedy session. I usually do sessions over an hour and a half with much more interaction, give you guys a break. But I hope that's just got you thinking about what you might want to do. And come and ask me more questions afterwards. And that's it. I think you have, what do they have now?
More appointments. And
Appointments.
Your talk, NCS later on.
Appointments to go to. No worries. And then there's a really good presentation here as well by National Citizenship Service at 6 and 6:30 as well. So come along to one of those.